War and conflict has always been around, yet it often glazes over us as we watch headlines from the evening news.
A lot of people started yelling and screaming, and we said, "Oh, everybody just get down." There was quite a loud explosion.
Being on the ground, taking care of refugees and providing medical care in a place where there's no running water or electricity and where you are threatened by bombing raids can be sobering. Little has been said of the plight of the Nubian people living in the part of Sudan who are under constant threat of unpredictable aerial attacks, where devastating injuries are commonplace. The Nubian people are resilient, facing a regime bent on ensuring their destruction. There are no aid groups allowed, and food and medicine all have to be smuggled in. Also, physicians have all left, all but one, Dr. Tom Katena. Dr. Katena is the one remaining doctor for about 500,000 desperate people, often using crude 1860 U.S. Civil War techniques to deal with trauma injuries. Dr. Katena's story is striking as it goes into the heart of why many of us young doctors say why we chose medicine, namely to create an impact in people's lives. Today we speak to Dr. Tom Katena during the only time he had free, late night outside his modest home in the middle of nowhere. What brought you to medicine? You originally were at Brown University, you were playing football, you were doing mechanical engineering, and you completely changed.
Yes.
What made you change back in 1985? What made you change and decide that medicine is what I want to do?
Well, I wanted to. I originally wanted to go into the mission field, even while I was studying engineering at Brown. And my junior and senior years, I was looking for an opportunity to combine mechanical engineering with some work in the missions. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't any good match. So anyway, graduated from college and was looking around for a job. Was finally offered a job towards the end of the summer after college, and then just around the same time. It just kind of popped into my head. I remember I was coming back from my great aunt Fanny's funeral, mm-hmm. and I was with my brother Felix, and I said, Felix, I should go to medical school. That would make sense, because then I can stay in the sciences, and I can still go in the mission field. And it's much more of a match to do medicine and work in the missions.
Right.
So that's kind of how I made the decision. The original desire was to go into the mission field, and medicine I thought was a good match for it. I like the sciences and I like working with people, so I thought it was a natural fix, for me.
And then after that, I think you spent some time in the Navy also, because you went to Duke on a Navy scholarship. How much time did you spend in the Navy afterwards?
I was in for 5 years. So did my medical school at Duke, as you said, and then I had basically a 4-year commitment, but that didn't include the internships. I did my internship in San Diego, then 4 years active duty. Was in different places. Was out on an island for a year, and then was with the Marine Corps Squadron for a couple of years. Did a flight surgery course. So really had a good time there.
A lot of my co-interns, co-residents, we all want to do an elective internationally. And I know in medical school we weren't, at least where I went, we didn't have that. But your 2 months in Kenya during your 4th year, that really changed things for you. Tell me how. How did that change things? How did that really open your eyes to the other side of medicine?
Well, I had the interest in doing whatever you want to call it, tropical medicine, global health, mission medicine. I had that interest there. And I think spending those 2 months in Kenya really cemented that. I had a fantastic experience. As a 4th-year student, and there was another 4th-year student who's a really good friend of mine, Chris Hudson. We just kind of had a blast there. Just had the run of the place. It was an old mission hospital that was about a half an hour from Nairobi. Mm-hmm. It really was so much fun. Just kind of running around and just doing everything by the seat of our pants. Again, there was little diagnostics and that sort of thing. really kind of finally putting into practice what you learned in school. It was really a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it.
I mean, I think that's the problem nowadays. I mean, as a doctor, I think we're all reliant so much on our diagnostic tests. We order a CT scan, we order a lab, we order an ESR, we order all these things, and we don't spend that much time actually with the patient. I realize that the physical exam, the art of medicine, kind of has been put off to the wayside. And most of my fellow colleagues and I, we find ourselves in front of the computer, typing our notes and doing documentation. Do you think that we really have put the physical exam to the wayside? And why? Why do you think that is?
Well, I think, in the rush to technology, all those fine skills have gone away. I'm really a Luddite, so I don't like anything with computerized notes and EMRs and all sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Our notes here are very basic, so I basically write a note what I need to remind myself for the next day when I do rounds.
Right.
So I think a lot of that stuff has been lost. Everything. Of course, here for diagnostics, we have an ultrasound and that's it. There's no X-ray. Mm-hmm. Lab is basically a urine and hemoglobin. We can do a malaria test and some other couple of basic assays. Right. But almost all diagnoses are clinical. Almost every single diagnosis we make is clinical, and it takes time. Sometimes it's not as accurate. You like to have. Once in a while, you like to have a CT scan or an X-ray, but
sure.
To be honest with you, not that often because people keep telling me people come here to visit or they send emails saying how can you do orthopedic surgery without an X-ray?
Exactly. How can you?
But you can feel the fracture. Pretty easily. You feel, someone's got a fractured femur, you can feel it. Or, some of these soldiers have open femur fractures. You can see where the fracture is. So you don't really need an X-ray to help you that much. But we've gone, 7.5 years without an X-ray. And mm-hmm. There have probably been a handful of times when I say, gosh, I wish I had an X-ray for this patient because I'm not sure what's going on in his chest and it would probably help to have one. But those cases are fairly infrequent. Mm-hmm. They're much less frequent than you think. You think, how can you survive without a simple X-ray? But,
right.
It's amazing how you can. The ultrasound is actually much more useful for us here. Ultrasound has been fantastic.
So you have one of those portable V-scan GE ultrasound machines?
No, we've got a small. It's similar. It looks like a laptop. It's a sonocyte. Mm-hmm. The company Sonocyte. They make an ultrasound called a Micromax. Mm-hmm. They're really fantastic little things. It's about the size of a laptop. I see. But the whole thing is the ultrasound. It's like a fat laptop. You open the thing up and it's got I got 3 different probes. Mm-hmm. But I can do all the obstetrical stuff, all the abdominal ultrasounds. Would diagnose DVTs here. We've had a few cases of DVT. It's got another probe. You can look at the veins. It's fantastic.
No, but then, so let's say you diagnose a DVT. How would you anticoagulate? They've been putting an embargo on a lot of medical supplies. I cannot imagine you have warfarin with you. Do you? Or?
No, we don't. We had. Well, I'll tell you, the last patient we had, she was. We had about how much was it now? We had about 3 weeks worth of. One of the low molecular weight heparins, not the enoxaparin, the other one. Right. Some other low, I can't remember the name of it. The newer enoxaparin.
Sure.
So put her on that until it ran out, and then put her on aspirin, and then kept her in bed with her feet elevated, and the thing went away. It got better, and did follow-up ultrasounds, and the vein was patent, had good flow. It was fantastic.
Amazing.
One patient we had with we didn't have anything. Mm-hmm. I think I just put her on aspirin. And leg elevation, just put her in the bed and put her legs way up, and it cleared up. The DVT went away just with that simple treatment.
Wow.
So work would be tough because we couldn't really monitor the INR and that sort of thing, and it'd be hard to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Heparin might be easier to be in bed forever, but we don't have any of those things.
No, I can just imagine how much your physical skills, your clinical judgment has improved just by being there, because you have to you look at something and you'll know what it is without going through where are the guidelines, what's the differential, and you don't have much time. Sometimes you have so many patients, you just know what's going on and you just go and fix it.
Right. Yeah, a lot of it has become pattern recognition because just seeing so many people. And sometimes the patterns, a lot of it's pattern recognition. So you look at a patient, you look at a case, you do an exam, you say, well, this kind of fits with TB. I mean, TB is such a weird disease, and there's so many manifestations of it. A lot of TB is pattern recognition. We've had cases of actinomycosis. It's pattern recognition.
Yeah.
Something I never saw before, but you see somebody that's got sinuses and kind of eaten up bone, eaten up joint. It's often actinomycosis, and it's something that we often will diagnose without any microbiological confirmation. So just, we have a case now in the ward, actually. Lady's got a sinus with a kind of chewed up clavicle.
Wow.
So we've got an IV ampicillin. And we had a guy about a month ago, the same thing. His shoulder, with benzochromium, was pretty much all eaten up with tinnitus. We did one, took him to the operating room, we did one curettage of the kind of granulation tissue and the pus.
Wow.
Cleaned it all out a bit. And IV ampicillin and amoxicillin, the thing totally dried out. He's got full range of motion in his arm, so he made a fine recovery. But that was just pattern recognition and treating. And then a lot of TB is the same way, because you never get a clinical you often do not get a lab diagnosis of TB here.
No.
It's rare. Our guys in the lab can check it. We have on-the-job trained lab people, they can check it, but we often don't get a diagnosis.
Well, I mean, I know that when I'm out in the public, like in a shopping mall, or even when I'm in the plane, and somebody, I remember just a couple of weeks ago, I was out in the shopping mall. I saw somebody in the food court started choking, and they started saying, a doctor here, anybody, a doctor here. And of course I do the Heimlich and everything was okay, but you have nothing. You don't have your white coat, you don't have a stethoscope, you don't have support staff. I mean, I think that's the closest we will ever get to a resource-poor environment. But sometimes in that case, I just note that while we're waiting for the EMS to arrive, just being there, just comforting the patient, showing empathy, and that's what the patient really, really needs. And a lot of the people we see in the hospital, we just go treat them and send them on their way. And I find it very sad because sometimes we don't have that connection with our patients anymore.
Right. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, medicine, certainly when I was going through training, I think it's the same way now. It's a little bit too scientific. The problem is you need the hard science. You got to be a little bit hardcore about it to make a proper diagnosis.
That's true.
But the human side of it is just not. It's not stressed enough, or maybe people attracted to medicine don't have that. That's not part of their being. We're so geared towards results and outcomes and doing the right thing that sometimes the human side of it gets washed away. U.S. We have a lot of cancer here. And really, we have some chemotherapy, and we do treat some cancer patients, but a lot of it is just palliation.
Right.
And what they need is exactly what you're saying. They need comfort measures. They need explanation. They need time. The family needs time to understand. And with their basic understanding of health and disease, it really does take time to go through with the family, try to talk to them.
Right.
And try to get to the point where they can understand what is the problem. This is what we can do. This is what we can't do. And try to make the person comfortable at that stage. But yeah, I agree, and I've come through that system. I think a lot of the human side of medicine has been lost in our rush to science and the scientific endeavors.
Sure. I'm surprised that cancer is rampant. We always think about tropical diseases, typhoid fever. We think of malaria,
right.
But cancer is really present out there. That's something that we don't really pay attention to.
We have a lot of cancer. It's strange. You find when you come to work in these settings, both my time in Kenya and my time here, you find all the diseases you have at home are here, with the addition of the strange ones, the tropical diseases, right, and the disease of neglect. But at this hospital here, we had a Cushing's disease. I never saw Cushing's disease in the U.S., but a real Cushing's disease. We look for it everywhere. We always look for the Cushing's patient. Could never find one.
Right.
We had a lady with a real Cushing's disease. I've had, I think, 2 or 3 PHEOs, easily 2 or 3 pheochromocytomas. I was a medicine intern.
Yeah.
Always looking for the guy with PHEO. Check VMA, epinephrine. We're always just waiting. We're so excited to find him. Here, we found him. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't find the lesions. We don't treat it. That was really frustrating because these guys were. They were in a cold sweat and blood pressures of 280 over 190. It was unbelievable. And
Wow.
then they would lyse, sort of BP would break, and they get hypotensive. It was terrible. Really a difficult management. We really couldn't do much for them.
I can't imagine that.
We've had two deals. So all those weird things like you learn about medical school are here.
Yeah.
Because we have kind of a big catchment area and a huge number of cancers, just every kind of cancer you can imagine. From endemic Kaposi's, so non-HIV related Kaposi's is very common, including in children. We've had several children, like a year or 2 years old, Kaposi's sarcoma, HIV negative. Yes, really oddball stuff.
Wow.
A lot of lymphomas, of course, and a lot of melanoma, breast cancers, prostate cancers, a lot of ovarian, cervix, uterine cancer. I mean, the full gamut. Whatever cancers are there are here. So it's really when you come to these places, I think something to keep in mind is you're going to find the same disease you find at home, except probably fibromyalgia. Not going to find fibromyalgia, but you'll find everything else.
Okay. And you won't find obesity too. You won't find obesity out there, will you?
No, no. There's no bariatric surgery center here in the mountains. It's not a big problem for us.
I mean,
A lot of the problems you find in
I mean, just thinking about logistically, you're the only MD out there. You have some clinical support staff who have, act such as like PAs, and you trained some nurses on the fly. But how do you manage it by yourself? I mean, physically you must be draining, emotionally you must be draining. I mean, how do you do it day after day? I think you only missed.
Well, yeah.
I think you only missed some time because you had malaria yourself, but otherwise you're always working.
Yeah, no. If I'm not sick, I'm working. There are no days off. It's weird. I was thinking about this today. You kind of get up in the morning, and you go through your routine, and thank God I'm not sure I can make it through the day today. Then the day ends, week ends, month ends, year ends. Time just goes ahead.
It just happens.
And it just happens. And I mean, you wake up. I remember. I'm not sure how old you are, but when I was like in my 20s, I was saying, God, time is going really slowly. And as you get older, time really does speed up. You wake up one morning, you're 30. You wake up the next morning, you're 40. You wake up next morning, you're 50.
Wow.
And time just zips by. And you really think, God, I'm really kind of wiped out. I'm not sure. I hope tomorrow is a bit of a lighter day. And the next day comes, and it's not lighter; it's worse.
But sometimes it's good to be
expression,
busy. Sometimes it's good to be busy also. I mean, I find during my internship or residency, if I have a slow day with no admissions, sure, it's great. I can study in the library and stuff, but I don't feel like I'm doing anything useful, and the day goes by longer, I think.
Right. No, I agree with you. I mean, the thing about being out here, this place is extremely isolated. Yeah. So if you have a job where you're not busy, there's really nothing else to do. There are no diversions here. Right. So you really have to be in a job that's busy. I think otherwise it'd be really boring. And there's just nothing to do. I mean, you don't have any diversions. There's not a lot of activities going on. So, wow. Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to find a little more of a balance, but it's just not there. And I'm just kind of resigned to that. But that's how it is. And I mean, I've been doing it for so long now. It's kind of become second nature.
I was really impressed by when the Catholic Mission Board, they quote unquote fired you. You're a volunteer anyway, but in 2011 when they said, time to leave, time to pick up and go. And I was wondering, right. What you said was really, really true. What makes you different than the people you're serving? And, I always hear about this in the news. My fellow journalists, we always say, 45 Americans were killed. But does it matter if they're Americans or Sudanese or whatever? They're right. Human beings. And that's something I think that, when it comes to humanitarian medicine, we really have to focus on the bottom line.
Right. I mean that it's perspective when you're out in the field. Because I remember when I was in the U.S., I didn't think. I think, I just want to go out there and do my best, this and that. And it's almost like a cavalier attitude. Like, well, as long as you're doing something, it's better than what they already have. But when you get here, it's different because you get to see the people and know them as they are. You're like, well, crap, I don't want to screw this up. Or, you really want to do a good job. Right. And you see them as humans. And from a distance, oftentimes you don't. It's not. It's just how it is. And I mean, it really upset me with that thing. That's why I felt like, well, leave now. It just didn't make any sense. And like, I'm not freaking leaving. I'm like talking about leave.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's a big problem. That some lives are worth more than others. It's a big problem.
No,
And,
but we hear it all the time. I mean,
yeah.
in the news. So, how many Americans, how many Westerners died? How many,
Right.
it makes no sense to me. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, you've seen so many different diseases related to famine, tropical disease, and now even cancer also. But you have to deal with the scars of war. How do you physically deal with this when you have so little? I mean, you're resorting to U.S. Civil War techniques. Do you make these? Do you improvise yourself these things, or how did you go about doing that?
Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, the traction, there's what's called a stymon pin goes throughout the tibia of the femur. Then we have a rope, but besides the stymon pin and what's called the stirrup, the rest of it's been improvised. It's supposed to be a fancier setup, but we don't have the fancier setup, so we just take a rope, basically really a rope, like a nylon rope, and sling it over the end of the bed. And we get a bag, usually like a burlap bag, pack that with sand until it makes 7 kilos, and then tie the rope around the bag, and that's the weight, just hanging over the edge of the bed. That provides our traction. So it's actually in the Civil War they probably had pulleys. It's probably a little bit better system. But we're a little bit behind the Civil War.
Wow!
But I tell you, it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do with little. It's unbelievable. And the other thing too that really strikes you is what the human body can do to heal itself.
Yeah.
We've had. I'm trying to think now. Golly, I'll never forget one of the first nights of the Warriors. This is over 4 years ago now. We came down. There were just, casualties all over the place. It was that horror show. And we walked in, and there was a guy who had been shot in the mouth. These were all soldiers. And the guy was shot in the mouth, and the bullet went in the back of his throat, out the back of his throat, out the back of his neck.
Oh my God!
And he was choking his own blood. I thought he was going to die in front of me. He was like, just choking and choking his own blood. And he had this big blowhole at the back of his neck.
Yeah.
And we just kind of, treated the wound and did some kind of basically first aid with him. We stuck in a G-tube down, and now the guy's fine. He's got no deficit. There's nothing wrong with him.
Amazing.
He made a full recovery.
Amazing.
Actually, no, the bullet went through his jaw. It went through his jaw, shattered his jaw, through the back of his throat, out the back of his pharynx, out the back of his neck, with a big whale blowhole out the back of his neck.
Wow.
The guy made a complete recovery. He's got a little scar on the back of his neck now. And that was all himself healing himself. And it's amazing the body will do. If you just kind of, some things you've got to do a lot, surgically, some things you have to kind of coach the body along a bit.
Yeah.
But the body will do a lot to heal itself. It wants to get better, and it's amazing. And a lot of really sort of simple techniques and minor interventions can go a long way. It's amazing what you can do with little stuff.
Truly amazing with little stuff. I just see how much waste we have here. We open up a suture removal kit. We use it to clip one suture, and then boom, it's in the trash. And then gloves are thrown out like every 5 minutes. That's stuff that you people can use over there. So that's just. I try to tell my fellow residents, watch it. It's not the cost of healthcare, but it just doesn't make sense to waste things just like that. So, now I have always wanted to ask you a question like this, but as a doctor, we are healers. But what would you do, how would you feel if you were to, say, have a Sudanese soldier who committed dozens of atrocities, just walk right into your hospital? I was just talking to somebody else who had the same. I just wanted to get your perspective in war.
Yeah, for me, to be honest with you, it wouldn't make a whole lot of difference. We've had some Sudanese soldiers that have come. They were, especially earlier on in the fighting, they really had close quarter battles. And some of these close quarter battles, a lot of guys were wounded, and they scooped up all the wounded on a couple of jeeps, and they brought them over to the hospital. And they scooped up some of the northern guys too, and they brought them in, and we treated them. I mean, and,
Wow.
I mean, for me, it didn't make any difference. I mean, we had one guy who was a northern soldier, and he was shot in the leg, had an open femur fracture. So we put him in traction. It didn't heal. He had a non-healing femur fracture. But I remember one night, I was up in my room, and it was about 9:30 at night, and the staff came up and said, "You got to come down to the men's ward. They're going to kill this guy."
Wow.
The place was packed. I mean, I don't know how many. We probably had 150 wounded guys in the ward. It was just packed. I went down there. They were around this guy's bed. So imagine this guy's in traction. He's got a pin in his leg. He's pinned to the bed. All these enemy, all the rebel soldiers are around. They want to kill him. And so I started screaming at him, say, "Leave this guy alone. This is a mission hospital. We're treating everybody equally, blah, blah, blah."
Right.
They kind of backed off. And, the guy had a non-union. We ended up doing we plated the fracture and did a bone graft, and the guy healed 100% and walked out and did fine.
I'm sure he walked out of that just getting a whole new perspective on the whole conflict, too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, a lot of these northern soldiers, I mean, who knows what their situation is. Some of these guys were conscripted in the north. They're up in Khartoum, and the government comes and said, "Look, you're joining the army." And some of the guys, like, they have all these techniques they use to get these guys in because they need bodies to come and kill people here. So the guy was finished high school. I said, "Well, if you want your high school certificate or your college degree, your certificate, you gotta spend 2 years in the army." So the guy goes and joins because he needs that piece of paper in order to get a job afterwards. So he ends up here in the mountains. He's got no interest in being here. And I mean, the war is just the worst. I mean, it's such a horrible. My perspective on war has changed quite a bit since being involved here. I mean, I'm sure you've got hardline guys in the Sudan army. They were supposedly up in Darfur in this place called Tibet. They really did horrible atrocities there with rapes and other things, and they're very capable of doing that. But I think some of these guys are conscripts that have no interest in being there, and
they just
kind of sucked into it.
They're sucked into it, exactly.
They're also victims of this whole. They're also victims of this whole deal. They don't want to be here any more than anybody else does. They're just kind of sucked into it. So I mean, I think to answer your question, I would treat them like anybody else. I mean, that's certainly from a medical ethics point of view and a Christian point of view. That'd be the only. There'd be no doubt. In other words, there's nothing, from my Christian faith, I would say, okay, this guy's an enemy combatant. You can treat him like crap.
No,
you can snipe it if you want. I mean, even if I'm really angry at him, I couldn't do it.
No, I mean,
backed up.
it would go against your nature. I think that's why we're in medicine, because we have an innate nature to help. And I think this is the case with anybody. Tell me about the actual situation now. What are we dealing with? You got bombed 11 times. I saw some of the footage. It was just. You think this is a safe place. You come to the hospital, and people think this is my place to be safe, and that's not the case anymore. And how do you deal with that? And how does it affect your patients?
Well, when they bombed us, this is about a year ago. It was 2 days in a row, and we were all quite shaken up. One landed literally 20 yards from where I live. So, I mean, who knows if they were trying to target the place I live? But these guys, the Sudan government can't do anything right. What they are good at is intelligence. Right. And because they invested a lot of money in their security services, and it's like their version of the CIA. So I think they knew exactly where my house was. I'm sure they had GPS coordinates about where I live. I live in a little guest house kind of place. We were all kind of shaken up and this and that. And I mean, then the second day, after bombing the second time, most of the patients fled. Almost all the ones in the children's ward took off. All the obstetrical patients left. The female ward patients left. The male ward patients stayed. Like a lot of the soldiers and the old men, they all stayed. They didn't care less. They're both pretty hardy. But we found a lot of the children's ward patients. There's a small hill near the hospital, maybe 100 yards away. They all went up in this hill. These rock outcroppings. They were all staying down in these rock outcroppings, just hiding up there. Right. So we went up and did rounds up there, and coaxed them back. And they eventually tripped back. A lot of the staff took off and were gone for several days. They're just terrified to come back and work.
No, I can imagine.
but it was bad. It was a bad scene.
Now I have some friends who are from the Palestinian territory in Gaza, and they speak of the same kind of thing. It's just I hear the same thing. It's just so stressful just dealing with injuries of war, and then on top of that, not knowing when you're going to be bombed next or not, and that's just something that's just very hard to imagine.
There's an airplane. I mean, we were at the mass on Sunday, and you know, the Antonov comes overhead. I mean, everybody here knows the sound very well. You can hear it way far away. When you first hear that droning sound, you know what's coming. Yeah. And you know, it came overhead, and the priest kind of stopped for a while. We kind of all listened and waited and said, "Well, did we get down or what?" And then it kind of passed over.
Oh my God! So recently, President Obama just visited the region. Do you think he has addressed enough, or is
dropping bombs and killed all of us?
Or is there still a ways to go?
Hello?
I'm still here. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I got you now, Imran. Go ahead.
Yeah. So President Obama just visited the region. Do you think he has done enough, and the U.S. government has done enough about this crisis? I personally, I'm surprised that we don't even know much about this.
No, I mean, the U.S. government's done almost nothing for the situation here in South Kordofan. I mean, the situation here is very complicated. Mm-hmm. We are part of the Republic of Sudan, which is under Omar Hassan al-Bashir. Right. And we're basically rebelling against the government. But the problem is that these people were part of the South, part of the military in South Sudan. Mm-hmm. And they fought the North for 20-some years in the Civil War. And then the Nuba were kind of left out in the cold when the peace agreement was made. Right. They kind of left hanging in the breeze. And never really got a proper. Never were given the right for self-determination. I see. And that was the big problem. So kind of when the South separated, we were supposed to have a separate process called a public consultation, which is very vague. This really vague process that was supposed to give us some self-determination, but it was purposely vague. I think they tricked the Nuba into just kind of coming back into the fold in the North. And then when the South separated, the public consultation actually never took place. The North came and said, okay, all of the SPLA guys left over that are Nuba, that are living in the mountains, you're not part of the North, you have to disarm. Mm-hmm. So they forced disarmament. It's kind of sparked conflict, and the Civil War started again. So it's really a conflict within a conflict for many years. Right. But the problem is that you've got there's a circle of rebel-held territory where we are. Yeah. And you've got a lot of people still living here that are cut off from any sort of access. We're cut off from the central government. We're cut off from all the major humanitarian organizations don't operate here. And my only take on it is, if the U.S. government, I don't expect the U.S. government to get involved militarily in this conflict. They've got enough problems. But what would make sense is say, okay, let's go and let's force Sudan, because they have leverage against the government in Khartoum. Right. Let's force them to open a humanitarian corridor into the mountains. Exactly. Food, vaccines, medicines, whatever. It'd be something that I think is within their realm of doing. I think they just don't have the political will to get involved in another Arab country, this part of the world. Sure. But I think that could be done without a whole lot of problems. They could do it fairly quietly too. Right. All the big A groups are not here. So no one's here. I know that vaccines are not coming in. Basically, they're choking the area. And you describe a measles outbreak where you had like 1,400 people come swarming into your hospital. But I'm just wondering, like you talked about the anaxaporin and some supplies. How do you get those limited supplies in? Are they airdrops? Those, well, no, they've got to come from Nairobi. So they're bought. Most of our stuff we buy in Nairobi. I think the enoxaparin was a donation, but most of the drugs are day-to-day stuff that we use and supplies we have to buy in Nairobi. Mm-hmm. That's got to be trucked from Nairobi. Are you familiar with Kenya?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, anyway, it's got to go by truck from Kenya up to a place called Lokichogio, which is 2 days by road. Wow. Up to northern Kenya, up in Turkana area. From Lokichogio, that's kind of a staging area. It's been a staging area for Sudan for many years. Mm-hmm. From there, it's got to be put on an airplane, flown into a refugee camp in South Sudan called Ida. Wow. And Ida is just to the south border of the Nuba Mountains. So the Ida refugee camp is where most of the Nuba have gone to, have fled because of this conflict. So there's an airstrip there, and stuff is flown from northern Kenya into this refugee camp. And then from there, we have to go and pick it up. We've got to drive. It's 8 hours. And that's during the dry season. It takes 8 hours to get down there. We have to send a truck down, pick these things up, and drive it back. And that's how we get every gauze, every suture, every piece of tape has got to come that way.
So
there's nothing.
So you're definitely not wasting anything.
No. I mean, still, we have a lot of, on the job trained people. And, I go there and I see a big wad of tape on a small wound. I just say, look, people, you're killing us. I mean, you can't waste this stuff. So it's really, I really try to push that. But right. Man, it's, because it's such an expensive effort to get there. I mean, each flight is like $22,000.
Oh my God.
And it's like a 5-ton flight. So it's incredibly expensive to get things in here and difficult and risky.
So,
what
you said is really profound. I mean, what you describe. I just was talking to my fellow residents. We're all going to the American Medical Association meeting. What can we do here, so far away in America? What can we do to help you and your mission?
I mean, someone want to make a physical contribution of cash or supplies. Mm-hmm. Money is always the easiest thing, but like sending supplies is difficult because logistics are a nightmare.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But we have places where I've got a place where money can be sent. Mm-hmm. Other than that, then just if you write your congressman to say what's going on. I mean, Bashir has been at this game for a long time in the government of Khartoum.
Mm. And I'm surprised.
I think the main thing will be just open up. Yeah, I mean, he was just in South Africa. He went to South Africa, I think it was last month. Mm-hmm. He flew to South Africa. There was some meeting by the African Union. Mm-hmm. And South Africa, Bashir has been indicted. He's not been convicted, but he's been indicted by the ICC for war crimes and crimes against humanity, along with the former defense minister and the former governor of our state. Mm-hmm. Have all been indicted. So Bashir went to South Africa for this meeting, and they were going to nab him. They detained him. Yeah. And we heard that news. We were going crazy. We're like, oh my God, they're going to arrest Bashir and send him to ICC. We couldn't believe it. And then South Africa let him slip through their fingers. They allowed him to come back to Khartoum.
Oh my God.
So I mean, really just cowardice. Just capture this freaking guy. He's caused so much havoc.
Right.
I mean, he's caused so much misery. Since 1989, he's been doing this.
Since that long.
That's a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, he took power in 1989 in a coup. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the truth, the sad truth is, and what we were wondering was, well, if Bashir is taking the ICC, who's going to take over for him? Will it be somebody worse?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you just never know. He's the devil we know. The devil we don't know is out there.
Right.
But I mean, the U.S., pressure on your congressman, your senator, whatever.
Sure.
Simply open a humanitarian corridor.
I mean,
and push.
I just think that letting people know what's going on is important because people don't know. And if people don't know, people won't act.
Right. And there's a bigger issue, especially for us as docs, that these big organizations, I look especially at UNICEF. WHO, I think, is actually a bit better, but UNICEF, these people have a mandate to give vaccines to countries, especially countries that can't afford them. Mm-hmm. And that they're supposed to supply vaccines to people regardless of their political background or whatever. So there are situations here. I think it's the same thing in Syria. You've got rebel-held areas. Yeah. The way UNICEF works and the way these big groups work is they work through the governments. Mm-hmm. And the World Food Program is the same. They work through the governments because they don't want to violate the sovereignty of a government.
Right.
But what do you do in a case where that government is genocidal or that government does not have the best interests of its people at heart? So you've got Assad's regime in Syria. You've got Bashir's regime in Sudan. Mm-hmm. I think a proven record of abusing their own people. I think it's pretty obvious.
It is.
So if you have that, these are transnational. These are transnational organizations. This is the UN. Mm-hmm. They don't belong to any one country. They don't have any one political view.
No.
So do the right thing. So the idea is do the right thing. Provide what you're supposed to provide, whether it's a vaccine, whether it's TB drugs for leprosy, whether it's food. Provide those things to everybody, including rebel-held areas.
Exactly.
And contacted people. There are people in those areas. I'm sure in Syria and these rebel-held areas, there are doctors there. There's something.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Make contact with those people and get supplies to them. Ask them, how can we get something to you?
Right.
We're UNICEF, you need a vaccine. If we send you a vaccine, they could do it with us. They could send us stuff to Ida, just drop it off there.
Right.
I think all we're asking is take the stuff to Ida, drop it off. We'll come out and pick it up. Kalas, we're done.
I mean, it's a simple
so worried
solution.
About, well, that's what you think. I mean, but these
That's
things
what I
get
think.
bureaucratic, and they're afraid of, annoying the government in Sudan. I don't know why. I mean, what can they do? They can kick out UNICEF out of the north. So it's okay. We're kicking you guys out of North Sudan. Now you can't come and vaccinate our children. Okay, fine. See you later. Wow. WFP, the World Food Program. What can they do? What can Sudan government do to WFP? Because they have food shortages in the north too. Are they going to kick out WFP because they're providing food to South Kordofan state?
No way.
I don't think they would. They're biting the nose.
So they have
face.
nothing to lose, really.
No, do the right thing. Take the food to the refugee camp. Let people come and pick it up, or do something where you can get around and do it openly. Tell the government there in Khartoum, we're here to treat children. We're doing this, and we're bypassing you.
Well, Tom, Dr. Katina, it's been an amazing interview with you. It's just so much insight. We really thank you for joining us here on Radio Rounds. Do you ever think you'll ever come back to the United States?
I thought about it. I don't know. I think if I get to a point where it's too much, or if I feel like my services and what I'm okay at doing are not needed much, I would like to go back and maybe get involved with the global health programs and maybe get involved in teaching. I mean, not so much from a theoretical viewpoint, but kind of from a hands-on practical viewpoint.
Right.
I think I would like that kind of thing. Those global health programs are popping up in different places in the U.S. They keep my interest in global medicine.
Right.
That would be my only draw to go back. Besides family issues, but besides that, I think I'll be sticking around here for a while.
Thank you so much. Okay, the interview's over. I just want to talk to you.
You're very welcome.
I just want to talk to you off.